What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look behind the track Trailer Boys. Let's dive right in. Here we go. We're going to check out how these drops were made. Yeah.
Big boys, nitty gritty with the corduroy. 3 blades, black shades, that dream team, that's no trades. If you go against me, that's a blowout. That's a blowout. In my gated tips, about to show out. About to show out, to show out, to show out, about to show out. Them Trailer Boys about to break out. To show out. Boys about to break out.
So that is Trailer Boys. That's a refresher. So let's just do what we always do. Top to bottom, solo it out. Here are the drums. Here we go. So this kick drum here, check it out. We've got this kick drum from Octave. Sounds like this. I kind of shortened out the kick. It had a little bit of a tail at the end, and I didn't want any of those frequencies in there, and I didn't want the kick to be very long because the track itself wanted to be very punchy. So I shortened it up right there in the sampler. And then, we've got some utilities to control the volume. It's low cutted here. It's not playing anything under 30 hertz, which is pretty, crazy for a kick, but it's a pretty punchy kick by design. So we're not really getting a lot of those frequencies in the first place. It more comes together in the form of punch. Then we've got Rough Rider to kind of get it to be big and loud, and some Redux, which is kind of making it sound digitally. So if we take the Redux off, it's a very clean kick. With the Redux on, you see, and this was something I used to do when I was working on songs around this time period here. I would put these things on to kind of give the kick a little bit of room to kind of slice through the mix with this sort of digitalness. So yeah, and then the snare is just that right there. It's just a sample. It's pretty fucking loud though. EQ'd here. Took out some of these harsh frequencies that were giving it a little bit more body than I wanted it to have, so I kind of took it out just under 1,000 hertz here. And yeah, I mean, hats are hats. Just using it as a pace percussion just to keep you on beat. So moving into the sub bass section here, sounds like this soloed out. So when you play that together with the drums, you get this. And we've got some side chain going on. I believe it's actually done in the group channel here at minus 34 dB, getting about minus 15 for the 14 dB in gain reduction here. 0.88 milliseconds on the attack, 0.50 on the milliseconds on the release. So it's pretty quick. Once that kick hits in there, it ducks it and brings it back as soon as possible. There's a bunch of different 808s at play here. You've got this one here, and then you've got one like this, which is the one that I use sort of. Let's see here. Then we've got this one here, which is a really crazy sub. I remember making this song and I was like, yo, I gotta figure out a way to use this sub. It's just so cool. It just sounds like this weird, like shitty trash can sub, and it's super, super sick. Then we've got this sub from Cymatics, which I use for the sustain. Boosting these subs up, I've got Redux on it. That's what they sound like without the Redux. With the Redux, you see it kind of gives it this digital harmonic tone, and it's really, really crisp. Then we've got a saturator. Without the saturator, with it, saturators, baby, yeah. We're on a medium curve here. Throw the bass up to kind of bring some of those harmonic frequencies out in the upper range, and throw the drive up just to kind of throw a little bit more. I guess this would be, overdrive, kind of more a little bit drivey saturation, for lack of a better word. But yeah, these two knobs are really, really key, the drive and the bass knob. are super important to, dialing in your saturation if you're using the Ableton saturator. And then I've got some sausage fattener. I mean, I'm not even using it that heavy, just about that much, Yeah, and then those are the subs. I mean, the real important part to kind of factor in is the way that everything is side chained, and then the same processing chain is pretty much on all of these. You've got overdrive. I was using overdrive on these things. Wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't do that today. Yeah, so I've got redux, a saturator. I use pretty much on every sub I'm kind of working on, if it's a sample based sub, and then sausage fattener, and then just EQing at the key frequency range to kind of give it a kind of spike in that frequency area, so it's really kind of cutting through. And that's the bass section there. Now moving into vocal.
Boys about to break out. Show out, to show out, about to show out.
I mean, this is a really old project, so everything, all the methods that I might use now might be the same. They might not.
Them trailer boys.
So this is two different takes here off of the pre-drop vocal to create one take.
Them trailer boys about to break out.
It's pretty cool. Today I might have done this, and panned them over and make it wide.
Them trailer boys about to break out.
Sounds really, really cool, but I did it right down the middle back then, which, doesn't sound, it's not any worse for it,
Them trailer boys about to break out.
So, yeah. Not too much to speak about on the vocals, just, recordings that I kind of recorded myself back then. Did it that way. Into the meat and potatoes of the whole thing here. Very, very cool stuff coming up here. Check this out. This is the synth section soloed out. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit mashed together until you put the drums in it and it all starts to make sense. Very, very crazy how that all came together to sound that way. But when you're soloing it out, it just sounds like sounds like mashed potatoes. So, we've got S1, which is Screech Section 1. See a soloed out here, sounds like this. And before we get into it, I ducked out some of these some of these high frequencies here, just under 10,000 hertz. I've got punch and parallel on it, which is like a parallel saturation, parallel processing, which is just a glue compressor sort of preset in Ableton, and then I dialed in my own specific things I wanted for it. And then just utilities to modulate volume, which I actually didn't even use. So those are just the pop screeches in there, so they're playing along whenever the kick drum hits. Check it out. It just really brings emphasis to the kick drum and the screeches themselves. And the trick to it is to not sidechain the screeches over the kick hard at all. Actually sidechain them not at all or very lightly. And they're not sidechained at all here, I believe. Unless... Yeah. No sidechaining going on right here. And it just really makes everything kind of pop, because you want those screeches to sit on top of everything and kind of glide and jump and bounce in between everything, because they gel everything together. You don't want them kind of ducked down to give you this heavy hitting sort of nature that you would do for like a serum bass or some sort of, bass sound, It's kind of the opposite that you want to do with the screeches. Now the way that I did this kind of movement here, I just modulated this sharing tool, as you can see right here, and it goes, so that's why it sounds like it goes, and then I layered that in with the actual pop screech. And it just gives you this super emphasized tone, and it's super sick. And then it's just on a 30-second note, just going crazy, just chopper. Moving into the sounds here, lots of samples. This is the first kind of sound, and then I just took that same sound and then I multiplied it a bunch, and it became this. But it's really quick, in the mix, so it sounds really, really nice. Because it's just, and it's out, and then there's another one. So it just gives it a little end point. So it's not just it goes see. So it's pretty cool there. Moving into the this sound here, it's this like rhythm bass, right? And it sounds like this when you like get it real low. It's a weird ass sound, but it's like, yo. That's a whole beat right there. And I was like, yo, I gotta figure out a way to kind of like, that is some finesse right there. That shit is cool as hell. And then when you stick that with the beat, it just goes crazy. Like, oh. You know, just makes your head bob. Makes your head bob, man. Gets the speakers knocking. Really cool sound though. We kind of dive into it here. I've got some basic EQ here to kind of shape and mold the sound, utility to control the volume, and then overdrive on it. Now, the cool thing is when we hop into the actual stuff that's going on in the effects section of this thing, we've got this delay, a compressor, reverb, and a filter. So let's listen to it without the delay. The delay is the thing that made it extremely wide. And it helped it kind of cut through the mix and have its own sort of space within this 3D realm here. Without the compressor, with it, this is just, you know, multi-band threshold. You know, I didn't throw the threshold back too far. It's pretty much neutral, but it really kind of gave me the volume I was looking for right off the bat. Reverb, without the reverb, with the reverb, it's just very slight because it's so wide, and I didn't want it to sound like it was this like reverb hall sort of thing. I needed it to be in your face, so it's extremely subtle. Without the filter, it's just a pluck, you know. Now when we turn the filter on, it's a Comb Plus filter. It really, and like I say in my other videos, the Comb filter brings out this digital kind of harmonic saturation in the sounds and brings out these cool frequencies that are really digital sounding, you know. And it's almost like a disharmonic sort of sound, you know. And that's because of the filter plus the delay, you know. And then the delay really just widens it out and it gives all that sort of harmonic bubbliness space to kind of move around. And that's pretty much the sound. I mean, it's just this MSPW, which is an analog, and it's just right here. It's available everywhere. And you know, FM from B just very slightly, and it kind of just moves around here on from LFO1 like a wobble. And the same thing like this with the MG low filter, so that filter's opening every time you press the note. It kind of controls that attack of the entire sound. So yeah, very cool. And then we just, you know, we've got these different LFO shapes to sort of shape the sound. But I mean, that's the Trailer Boys sort of sound. And then we've got these sustains here, sound like this. And I've today, you know, these are old methods, you know. So these days I would have thrown the random and the phase all the way to the left, so there's no, because you notice if you listen to the track, I mean, if you listen to the sound right here, it's changing every time the new note hits. It might phase a little bit differently, and you don't want that. And I didn't know that back then. Now I do, but I mean, the track, it's not better or worse for it, you know. But you know, just a kind of tip that I would do now if I were to kind of remake the song, you know, or like remix it, you know. That's the sound, and this is, you know, some FM from B, basic shape, crazy, weird basic shape. Wow, I never would use that one. But I mean, it's just a preset from this friggin' pack I had a long time ago, and I kind of just modified it to do what I wanted it to do. It wasn't a sustain like this. As you can see, I moved the LFO rate all the way to 4 bars, and I moved this here. This is when I was kind of learning about sustains. Now I'm like a big sustain kind of guru. I really like dig into that stuff and the technicalities of it. But I was kind of learning about it back then, and I figured out, oh, this is a basic sustain sort of pattern here, and throw this rate back, and now it's gonna really just kind of wail on you. So that's that sound there. Then you've got this other sound, which is a sustain, which is, a variation of that sound. And I just moved the FM up, and I said, oh, I can get different tones. See, I learned this through trial and error and just exploration. And now these are mainstays in my sort of sound design approach. Just moved the FM up, and I got a different kind of tone out of it. Very, very cool. Same sort of sound here. Moving in, same thing again. It's just a pattern. So, those are the sounds in there, and they all kind of come together. We've got the sidechain compression. I believe back then I was doing the compression on every sound, or no, on the group section. Yeah. So the sidechain is actually here on the group. You can definitely hear that pump. We're getting about, minus 10 dB in gain reduction at a 26 dB threshold. The attack is much higher. It's a much slower attack time. Same 50 millisecond release though. And I don't know, that just sounded right to me, and it kind of worked out. And at the end of the day, it all kind of came out to this awesome track, which is Trailer Boyz. I hope you guys were able to take some tips away from this and get some insight behind this track that was made quite a while ago, as a matter of fact, which I'm pretty proud of myself for. But yeah, this is Trailer Boyz. Boom.